Ebony Richards had traveled through Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport countless times, but never before had she felt such a storm of anticipation brewing inside her. Today was supposed to be a triumph, a long-awaited unveiling, the culmination of years of blood, sweat, and tears. Yet, as she rolled her sleek carry-on toward the towering glass doors of the VIP lounge, she couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that something monumental was about to erupt. Was it intuition? A premonition? All she knew for certain was this fate would throw one final staggering obstacle in her path before allowing her to seize the victory she so rightfully deserved. Ebony Richards woke at 4 a.m. in her Atlanta penthouse, a place she'd seldom allowed herself to indulge in since taking over her father's small chain of cafe kiosks across 3 airports. Those kiosks had been the foundation, the earliest seeds she'd sown that would one day blossom into something grand, a dream that exceeded all her father's hopes and defied the expectations of their naysayers. That day was the official opening of the Royal Dawn Lounge, a VIP lounge Ebony had conceptualized for Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. Its name commemorated new beginnings and the horizon of possibilities Ebony believed travel brought to the world. She had invested every ounce of her spirit into its creation, forging partnerships, negotiating with airport authorities, winning over stakeholders, and building a lavish space that offered world-class amenities. She rose from bed, stretched, and made her way to the floor-to-ceiling windows. The Atlanta skyline glistened in the early morning darkness. Planes soared above like shooting stars. There was a gentle hum of traffic below, as the city never truly slept. Today, Ebony would stand in that airport, not merely as a businesswoman, but as an architect of experiences. She would welcome travelers from around the globe into a lounge that stood for luxury hospitality and the promise that one's dreams could indeed come true, no matter the obstacles. While Ebony sipped her first cup of coffee, she glanced at the top of her desk. Stacks of final paperwork and media scheduling sat ready for her to review. The local news planned to cover the lounge's grand opening. A few high-profile celebrities, some traveling for film shoots, others for music tours, had accepted her invitation to attend the unveiling. All the hype swelled Ebony's heart with gratitude. She recalled how as a child, her father, Walter Richards, often brought her to watch planes take off. "Never let anyone tell you which flight to catch," he'd say. "You can soar wherever you want, Ebony." Today, that soared dream reached its pinnacle. After a quick shower and a moment in front of her mirror, where she carefully chose a chic crimson power suit, Ebony headed out. Little did she know this day would not be as smooth as her meticulously laid plans suggested. By 6 a.m., Ebony arrived at the airport. The sun was just tipping over the horizon, casting slender beams of gold across the runways. She noticed the throngs of passengers rolling suitcases at their sides, half asleep or stressed with early connections. The bustle comforted her. It reminded her that each traveler had a story. Many would find relief, rest, or celebration in her new lounge. Before heading to the lounge's secret side entrance, Ebony stopped by the kiosk that had started it all, Walter's Beans and Bites. The sign was modest, featuring a stylized coffee cup with a swirl of steam. Walter Richards had left Ebony a legacy that was humble but heartfelt. Now, Ebony's expansion didn't overshadow that beginning. Instead, she'd always carry it in her heart. She greeted the barista, a cheerful young woman with dyed pink hair named Carla. "You're here," Carla squealed, nearly spilling a latte in her excitement. "We're so proud to be your first stop." Ebony smiled wide. Couldn't start the day without the best coffee in the airport. Carla handed Ebony a complimentary mocha latte along with a pastry bag. fresh from the oven. "Good luck today, boss." Ebony walked off, latte in hand, scanning the crowd. She noted the employees scurrying about and the presence of newly hired security stationed near her lounge. She'd specifically contracted with an outside firm, Atlas Secure, to handle the VIP area. The airport's management had recommended them. Ebony had overseen the process, but left much of the hiring details to her top assistant, Joy Delgado, trusting Joy's diligence in verifying credentials. The lounge was housed in a prime location after security checks near the intersection of multiple concourses, ensuring maximum visibility and convenience. The Royal Dawn Lounge boasted a spacious reception area, plush seating, private rooms for phone calls, a bistro offering gourmet meals, 24/7 showers, napping pods, a library, and even a rotating art gallery featuring local artists. Ebony had curated each piece of furniture and artwork with care. When Ebony stepped into the restricted zone behind the lounge's main entrance, a staff-only corridor lined with supply closets and restrooms, she saw Joy meticulously scanning her phone. The petite woman looked up, pushing her glasses higher on her nose, and greeted Ebony with unbridled enthusiasm. "Everything is in place," Joy reported. "We have a few brand reps from Louis Vuitton offering complimentary spa items for our opening guests, and the press should arrive in an hour. Media outlets from Good Morning Atlanta to the Travel Network are confirmed." Ebony took a deep breath. She reveled in the sense of accomplishment that overcame her. "Let's do a quick final walkthrough, then we'll be ready." Their walkthrough went flawlessly. The polished floors gleamed. The staff was impeccably dressed and well-trained, and the chef's final sample offerings, mini lobster rolls, truffle-infused croquettes, and a delicate fruit tart, earned Ebony's immediate approval. Satisfied, Ebony ventured to step outside the lounge's official doors to greet the upcoming guests and the press. She wanted to personally ensure that everything was perfect from the very moment they entered. However, an unexpected commotion near the entrance drew her attention. She emerged from the lounge's staff door to see a line of travelers waiting to be ushered in once the lounge officially opened. At the front stood a robust security officer. Ebony didn't immediately recognize. He wore an Atlas Secure uniform, the name Parker embroidered on his chest. Parker was a tall, imposing figure with a broad chest and a clean-shaven jawline that gave him a serious air. His face, however, appeared tense, as though he was ready to handle any intrusion with an iron fist. Next to him stood two other officers from the same firm, but Parker clearly took the lead, screening each passenger's pass or invitation. Ebony made her way closer, intending to greet them. As she approached, Parker's posture grew rigid. He put out an arm, as if warding off an approaching threat. "Excuse me, ma'am," he said in a brusque tone. "This area is restricted to VIP passengers. You'll need either a membership or a day pass." Ebony blinked, momentarily thrown off. She was used to new employees not recognizing her, but most had at least seen her photo in orientation or read the internal memos about the lounge's founder. She extended a polite smile and explained, "I'm Ebony Richards. I'm here for the lounge opening." Parker's brows furrowed. "I'm sorry, Ms. Richards, but we've been instructed to check for valid passes. Even if you claim you're part of the event, there are protocols." Ebony found the formality odd. Joy had ensured everyone knew Ebony was the owner. The two other security officers were scanning Ebony's face, seemingly uncertain. Ebony attempted a friendlier tone. "I understand you're new, Parker, but I'm the reason this lounge exists. Perhaps you've seen me in the staff memos. If you contact your supervisor, he'll confirm." Parker's expression stiffened further. "The only name I was given was Ebony Richards," he said, as though Ebony had just claimed to be the Queen of England. And she's a corporate official with clearance. I don't know who you are, but Ebony Richards is rumored to be older. Maybe you're using her name. Ebony stared at him in disbelief. She was not used to being told she was the wrong Ebony. But she tried to remain calm. The difference between the Ebony in Parker's mind and Ebony in front of him could have been due to some misinformation. She tried again. Trust me. I am Ebony Richards. Let me call my assistant Joy Delgado, or even the Atlas Secure manager. They'll vouch for me. I have an ID that shows I am Ebony A. Richards, also the airport director. Mr. Carmichael is expecting me. Parker shrugged dismissively. Save it. We get folks trying to hustle their way in. Now step aside before you cause a scene. Ebony's cheeks flushed. She'd faced a myriad of challenges in her career, undermining business partners, early rejections for funding, even subtle racism in boardrooms. But never this blatantly. Never so rudely in front of her own establishment. She glanced around at the travelers, who had paused watching the commotion. One tall gentleman in an immaculate suit stood behind Parker, evidently a VIP, who recognized Ebony from a local business magazine. His eyebrows shot up in surprise at Parker's brash behavior. He tried to intervene politely. Officer, perhaps you should let Ms. Richards pass. Parker interrupted, not bothering to glance back. Sir, wait your turn. I'm dealing with a situation. That was enough. Ebony squared her shoulders and spoke firmly. Parker, I appreciate your diligence, but I am Ebony Richards. I own this lounge. I'm instructing you to step aside. Parker folded his arms and smirked. Lady, your story is a nice fantasy. But if Ebony Richards was black, I'd know. We were told Ebony Richards is some bigwig. Now move along. You're holding up traffic. A hush fell across the few watchers. Ebony's fury flared, but she swallowed it. The lines had become quite clear. Parker believed Ebony didn't fit the image he had in mind. The racist undertones of his statement brought Ebony's blood to a simmer. She refused to let him see her anger, refused to give him the satisfaction. Just as Ebony prepared to respond, Joy Delgado appeared, looking frantic. She had rushed from inside the lounge after noticing Ebony hadn't returned. Ebony. What's going on? Joy asked, scanning from Ebony to Parker. Before Ebony could say a word, Parker turned to Joy. This woman claims to be Ebony Richards and demands we let her in. Joy paused, stunned, then swiftly put her hand on Ebony's arm. She's not just claiming Parker. This is Ms. Ebony Richards, your boss, the woman who signs the checks for Atlas Secure's contract here. Parker opened his mouth to speak, but before any words could leave, Ebony shook her head. Let's handle this calmly. She tried to keep her voice even, though her pulse pounded. I apologize. Parker finally managed, though his words didn't sound genuine. We were told Ebony Richards would arrive with an entourage, so I assumed. He trailed off, offering Ebony a once-over that reeked of skepticism. The travelers who had witnessed the exchange began muttering. Ebony swallowed the bitter taste in her mouth. I'll let this slide, she said. But next time, show some respect and ask for ID politely, rather than making assumptions. Understood? Parker nodded, and Ebony proceeded inside with Joy's reassurance. The wave of murmurs followed them, and Ebony felt an uneasy tension crawling beneath her skin, uncertain if the matter was truly settled. Once inside, Ebony took a moment to breathe. She had a deep love for her community, her staff and her partners in business, But every now and again, prejudice reared its head in the most public of ways. She took Joy aside. "Find out who exactly trained Parker. This is not acceptable. If he made an honest mistake, fine, but that last remark about Ebony Richards not being black is a huge red flag. If it's not addressed, it'll open the door to lawsuits and more heartbreak for our customers." Joy nodded, her face resolute. "I'm on it. Let's nip this in the bud." When Ebony finally had a moment alone, she recalled her father's early teachings. Life had never been easy for the Richards family. Her father's small coffee kiosk had faced repeated pushback when he tried to expand at the airport. "We already have Starbucks," they'd say, or "We can't give a prime spot to a nobody brand." Ebony remembered the sting of feeling lesser the shame in her father's eyes when time after time big corporations with bigger budgets overshadowed his attempts. But he never gave up. Ebony had grown up refusing to accept limitations. She had worked her way through college, studied hospitality and business management, and every day after classes she shadowed her father's small staff, learning the ins and outs of airport operations. It was Ebony who convinced her father to open up multiple kiosks, Ebony who found ways to pitch local flavors that bigger chains overlooked. Walter might have been the seed planter, but Ebony was the unstoppable force that helped the brand grow. And now, Ebony had built something even bigger in the form of the Royal Dawn Lounge. She had fought for this day, earned it, and no bigoted security guard was going to ruin it. Despite the sour start, the lounge opening ceremony kicked off smoothly. Cameras flashed as Ebony, flanked by the airport director, Mr. Carmichael, and representatives from local charities. Ebony supported, cut a ceremonial ribbon at the entrance. Travelers who had purchased day passes or had membership privileges began to filter in, awestruck by the lounge's luxurious design. A local TV anchor, Grace Fairchild from Channel 7, pulled Ebony aside for an on-air interview. The lens focused on Ebony's poised figure, her red suit a striking statement against the lounge's muted gold and cream backdrop. "So, Ebony, this is quite a monumental day for you and for Hartsfield-Jackson Airport," Grace began. "You've poured years of effort into this lounge. Can you share what it symbolizes for you?" Ebony offered a radiant smile. "Of course, Grace. The Royal Dawn Lounge is not just a luxury space. It's a statement of inclusivity and possibility. My father started with a modest coffee kiosk here, and through perseverance and the support of countless wonderful people, we created a space where any traveler can relax, recharge, and experience a bit of home away from home." They moved on to talk about Ebony's philanthropic work, how Ebony sponsored scholarships for underprivileged students looking to pursue degrees in hospitality, and how part of the lounge's proceeds would be funneled into community development programs in Atlanta. Ebony felt the warmth of belonging. She was proud to represent more than a brand. She represented hope for those who dreamed big, just as she had. In the corner of her eye, Ebony caught a glimpse of Parker and two other guards posted near the entrance. Parker maintained a stony glare. Ebony wondered if he felt any remorse for his earlier behavior. Regardless, Ebony stayed focused. This was her day in the spotlight, and she wouldn't let any negativity overshadow it. About half an hour after the ribbon cutting, Ebony mingled with the first wave of guests, ensuring they felt welcomed. She greeted some frequent flyers who recognized her from her father's kiosk days. She even posed for selfies with a handful of star-struck travelers who followed her entrepreneurial story on social media. Suddenly, Joy approached, her complexion pale. "Ebony, there's a problem." Ebony's stomach clenched. She excused herself from a conversation with a board member from Delta Airlines and led Joy to a quiet corridor. "Talk to me," Ebony urged in a low voice. "What's going on?" Joy's eyes flickered. "We might have a situation with Atlas Secure. There's been talk that Parker isn't just incompetent. He may not be properly vetted." Ebony's eyebrows shot up. "Not vetted?" Joy nodded. "I got a call from my friend at the airport's HR department. She said the background checks from Atlas came in late and 1 or 2 guards have questionable records. The name Parker was specifically mentioned." A coldness settled over Ebony. Hiring security for an exclusive lounge was crucial. One bad hire could tarnish her brand cause legal nightmares, or even endanger travelers. Ebony's mind flashed back to the hostility in Parker's eyes, the near contempt in his tone. If he had misrepresented himself or had a questionable past that included discrimination or aggression, Ebony needed to handle it immediately. Joy continued. "I've already asked the Atlas Secure manager to meet with me. He's on his way. But Ebony, we have to be careful. If the press gets wind of a security scandal on our opening day, it'll overshadow everything." Ebony steadied herself. "Let's keep it quiet for now. Send Parker away from the main lounge door. Make up an excuse that we need him on roving patrol. The last thing I want is him interacting with guests until we clarify the situation." "Understood," Joy replied, heading off to find the manager. Ebony sighed, leaning against the wall for a moment. Just as she began to plan how to proceed, her phone buzzed. A call from a number she didn't recognize. She answered hesitantly. "Ms. Richards," came the voice on the other end. "This is Wesley Garcia from the Traveler's Post. I'm hearing rumors that your new lounge is facing a discriminatory security situation. Would you like to comment?" Her heart skipped a beat. How on earth had the media gotten wind of this so quickly? "I'm not sure what you're talking about, Mr. Garcia," Ebony replied, forcing calm into her voice. "If you're referring to standard ID checks, that's simply protocol. Our lounge has no tolerance for discrimination." Garcia pressed on. "I have sources telling me about an incident at your lounge entrance this morning involving a black woman being blocked. Are you aware of any such incident?" Ebony's lungs constricted. She needed to manage this crisis with tact. "We have a zero-tolerance policy for discrimination. If there was an incident, we'll investigate. I can't offer more details at the moment, but I assure you the Royal Dawn Lounge welcomes travelers of all backgrounds." Ebony ended the call, feeling the weight of the morning's fiasco crushing her chest. If this rumor spread too widely, it could turn the lounge's grand opening into a PR nightmare. Determined to salvage the day, Ebony moved swiftly through the lounge to locate the Atlas Secure manager. His name was Leonard Stone, a tall, meticulous man in his late 40s, with peppered hair and an air of military precision in how he carried himself. He arrived in the staff corridor, quietly requesting Ebony's presence in a private meeting room near the back of the lounge. Joy was already waiting there, arms folded, her expression tight with worry. Stone entered, removing his cap respectfully. "Ms. Richards." "Miss Delgado," he greeted. Voice firm. "I've just received some troubling reports." Ebony sat down. "What's the story on Parker?" "We had an incident earlier this morning, and I'm told his background check may not be in order." Stone inhaled deeply. "I deeply apologize for any inconvenience or disrespect that Parker may have shown. It seems that our HR department at Atlas Secure flagged him for re-evaluation. Unfortunately, the final step of that process got delayed, and somehow his name slipped through. Our official checks indicate some questionable behavior in previous employment. Racial bias complaints, use of excessive force. We never meant to station him here at a brand new high-visibility facility. Ebony bristled, anger simmering. This is unacceptable. My entire brand is built on inclusivity, on bridging divides, and you send me a guard with a documented record of racial bias. Stone's cheeks colored slightly. It was a mistake. Parker was never meant to be assigned here. He was supposed to remain on a probationary assignment at a smaller cargo checkpoint. But an internal scheduling error placed him in the VIP rotation. We accept full responsibility. Joy's eyes flashed. Full responsibility. That doesn't repair the damage. We have media sniffing around. We need immediate action. Stone nodded. Of course, Parker will be removed from this post immediately pending further investigation. I have replacement personnel ready. We'll do everything we can to minimize negative press. I can issue a statement from Atlas Secure acknowledging an error in assignment if that helps. Ebony tilted her chin upward, regaining composure. We might need that, but let's keep it measured. I don't want a meltdown that suggests our lounge is unsafe. Let's position it as a standard HR oversight, not a scandal. We'll emphasize that the guard in question has been removed. End of story. Stone agreed. Consider it done. And Ms. Richards on behalf of Atlas Secure. I personally apologize. You have my word this won't happen again. Ebony almost believed him, but a glimmer of uncertainty remained. A wave of exhaustion threatened to overcome her. This was supposed to be a day of celebration, yet she couldn't shake the feeling that the fiasco with Parker was just the tip of an iceberg. Later in the day, Ebony tried to focus on the next phase of the lounge's grand opening schedule, a charity raffle featuring donated items from high-end brands. The proceeds would go to a local non-profit for foster youth. Cameras snapped pictures of Ebony, presenting an oversized check to the organization's director, Ms. Carmen Hughes. Applause rang out. Ebony smiled, for the cameras determined to keep the negative drama from overshadowing her philanthropic efforts. As the applause faded, Ebony's phone vibrated with another call. She discreetly stepped away from the cameras to answer. This time the ID read, "Unknown." The voice that spilled out from the speaker was surprisingly familiar, thick with condescension. "Ms. Richards," the voice drawled, "you've come a long way since your father's little coffee stands." Ebony's heart lurched. She recognized that voice it belonged to. Kevin Yates, a business rival who had once tried to buy out her father's coffee kiosks cheaply when the Richards family was in financial straits. Kevin was known for shady deals and aggressive tactics. "What do you want, Kevin?" she hissed, stepping further away from the event. Kevin gave a mocking chuckle. "I heard you had a bit of a scuffle with security at your grand opening. Already losing control of your big dream lounge." "Ebony." Her anger flared. "Stay out of my affairs, Kevin. That was a minor hiccup." "We have it under control, is that so?" Kevin mused. "Word around the airport is that your staff and security might not be as unified as you claim. Imagine the PR nightmare if that storyline goes viral. You might want to keep an eye on your lounge's membership data. Wouldn't want anything leaked to the press." Ebony's pulse hammered. "Are you threatening me?" "Threatening you?" Kevin's laugh was cold. "No, of course not. I'm just saying the airport is a small world. I have resources. If you ever decide running a lounge is too complicated for you, I'd be happy to step in with an offer. Though it'll be less than your father's coffee kiosk was worth by the time the press is done with you." The line went dead. Ebony stared at her phone, unsettled. She recalled rumors that Kevin had connections with airport contractors and unscrupulous middlemen. The possibility that he might exploit the day's earlier fiasco to sabotage her lounge was all too real. Ebony couldn't help but feel that her father's memory was at stake, that the lounge was a living testament to everything the Richards family stood for, and she wouldn't let Kevin or any hater tear it down. An hour later, Ebony slipped out of the lounge to take a breather, letting Joy manage the crowd of new arrivals. Ebony headed toward the end of the corridor, leading to a viewing window overlooking the runways. She needed a moment of solitude to clear her head, but that solitude was short-lived. There, leaning against a wall, arms crossed, was Parker. Ebony stiffened immediately. She thought Stone had removed him from the premises. Parker regarded her with a predatory smirk, eyes flicking with malice. "Ms. Richards," he said, voice dripping with fake politeness. "I guess you got me reassigned." Ebony refused to cower. "I was told you'd been removed from this post." Parker shrugged. "Mr. Stone asked me to clock out and go home. But I had a few personal items to collect first." His eyes darted around, making sure no one else was in earshot. "Nice lounge you have in there. Shame if something happened to it." Ebony tightened her grip on her phone. "Is that supposed to scare me?" Parker sneered. "Let's just say you might want to watch your tone with people who keep the peace. A little complaint here, a safety hazard there, and your precious lounge could face all sorts of operational headaches. You think because you're the owner you're untouchable. This place can be shut down for 1,000 reasons. Code violations, safety checks, background checks on staff." Ebony's voice was ice cold. "Get out of my face before I call airport authorities. I have no tolerance for threats." Parker's grin broadened. "You call them. I'll just let them know you attacked my character, singled me out. Might make for an interesting discrimination countersuit. A black woman claiming I was racist, while in reality I was just doing my job. Good luck dealing with the sensational headlines." Ebony's stomach churned. She wanted to lash out, but she knew better. She had to be strategic. She stepped back, forcing herself to stay calm. "Leave, now, or I'll get the airport police involved." Parker stared at her one final moment, then pushed past her with an exaggerated bump of his shoulder. Ebony stood there, heart-pounding, furious tears threatening to sting her eyes. She refused to cry. She refused to let someone like Parker push her around. But she couldn't deny that Kevin's ominous call and Parker's brazen attitude formed an unsettling pattern. Who else was out there trying to sabotage her day of triumph? When Ebony returned to the lounge, she spotted Joy in conversation with an older man in a well-tailored suit. Ebony recognized him as Martin Cooper, a retired airport official who'd been a mentor to her father. Ebony's spirits lifted slightly. Martin had always been a calming presence, a steadfast ally who believed in Ebony's capabilities. Martin spotted her and waved her over. "Ebony," he said in a warm, paternal tone. "Congratulations, my dear. I knew you would do something extraordinary in this airport someday." Ebony smiled, genuinely grateful. "Thank you, Mr. Cooper. It means a lot to me that you're here." Martin leaned in, lowering his voice. "I heard there was some tension earlier. Something about a security guard." Ebony nodded, exhaling. "Yes, a guard with a questionable background who decided to question my legitimacy. We've handled it, but it left a bad taste in my mouth." Martin's gaze held concern. "This airport has come a long way since I first started. But there are still corners where prejudice lingers. I'm sorry you had to face that in your own establishment." Ebony gave a tight smile. "It won't hold me back." Martin placed a comforting hand on Ebony's shoulder. "I know it won't. If you need anything, airport connections, official statements, don't hesitate to ask. Your father was a dear friend, and I have the highest respect for your work here." Ebony nodded gratefully. "Thank you. Actually, keep an ear out. I sense there's more going on behind the scenes. My father always said you had an uncanny ability to sniff out trouble before it erupted." Martin laughed. "He gave me too much credit, but I'll certainly keep my ear to the ground." With that, Ebony felt a spark of reassurance. She wasn't alone in this fight. By mid-afternoon, the lounge was bustling with curious travelers, social media influencers taking selfies, business executives holding impromptu meetings, and even a small group of honeymooners toasting with champagne. The Royal Dawn Lounge was living up to Ebony's vision, a microcosm of travel's joys and connections. Near the bar, Ebony engaged in a lively conversation with a famous YouTuber who was live streaming her experience. Then unexpectedly, the overhead lights flickered. A few guests cast worried glances upwards. Ebony excused herself to investigate. Within seconds, the entire lounge was plunged into darkness. People gasped. Bartenders fumbled. Ebony felt her stomach drop. She turned to Joy, who whipped out her phone. "What's happening?" Ebony asked, trying to maintain composure. Joy tapped her phone's screen anxiously. "I don't know. The lounge's backup generators should have kicked in. Let me check with engineering." Emergency lighting soon activated, bathing the lounge in a dim bluish glow. Whispers spread among the guests. Ebony forced a reassuring smile for those around her, but behind the scenes her mind raced. She leaned over to Joy, voice low. "Is this just a technical glitch or sabotage?" Joy shook her head. "Not sure. If the lounge's dedicated power system failed, it might be more than an accident. I'll check now." Ebony spent the next few minutes calming guests, offering complimentary refreshments, and ensuring no one panicked. Finally, Joy returned, her face grim. "Our lounge's electrical feed was tampered with. There's a cable outside in the utility corridor that someone cut. The engineering team suspects it was deliberate." Ebony's blood ran cold. Parker's threat came rushing back to her. So did Kevin's phone call. Could either have orchestrated this sabotage? The ramifications were huge. Electrical tampering in an airport was a major security concern. "What are our next steps?" Ebony asked, forcing calm, despite her racing heart. Joy's voice trembled slightly. "We have to file a report with airport security and possibly the police. I'll also get the lounge's cameras reviewed. We have surveillance in the corridor. If someone messed with the cable, we might have it on video." Ebony nodded, determination hardening her resolve. If Parker or any other saboteur thought they could undermine her lounge, Ebony would ensure they faced serious consequences. Security staff from the main airport arrived swiftly to investigate. Ebony cooperated fully, offering any footage they needed, providing statements and ensuring the comfort of her guests. Meanwhile, word reached Ebony that Kevin Yates was seen milling about the airport earlier, though he had no legitimate reason to be there. Ebony's suspicion mounted. At the same time, Ebony's phone lit up with messages from media outlets. Some asked about the power outage, others about the rumor of sabotage. Ebony realized this day, meant to mark her success, was rapidly slipping into chaos, seeking a moment of solitude to strategize. Ebony retreated to her private office within the lounge, an elegantly designed space with a plush sofa, a polished wooden desk, and framed photos of Ebony with her father. She sank into her office chair, head in her hands, as Joy quietly entered. "How bad is the coverage?" Ebony asked, not looking up. Joy sighed. "We're managing." The official statement is that the lounge experienced a minor technical failure, but the cause is still under investigation. So far, no one has definitively stated sabotage, but rumors are swirling online. Ebony closed her eyes. This is precisely what Kevin wanted. To undermine me, make me look incompetent. Or else Parker's seeking revenge. Either way, we can't let them win. I'll personally meet with the airport police. They need to know who to suspect. Joy nodded, placing a comforting hand on Ebony's shoulder. We have your back. The staff is rallying, and the guests, for the most part, are staying calm. It's not ideal, but we're still afloat. A knock sounded at the door. Martin Cooper's voice came through. Ebony, may I come in? Joy stepped aside, letting Martin enter. Ebony stood relieved to see a friendly face. Martin's expression was a mix of concern and determination. I talked to some folks around the airport, he began. Rumor has it that Kevin Yates was seen near the utility corridors. Nothing concrete, but I did find a staffer who claims she saw him in that restricted area an hour before the power went out. She tried to question him, and he said he was doing an inspection for a vendor. Ebony inhaled sharply. He must have used his old airport contacts to slip in. That corridor's supposed to be off-limits to unauthorized personnel. Martin nodded gravely. We can't accuse him without proof, but I wanted you to know. The sabotage angle seems more and more likely. Ebony felt anger surge, but she also felt gratitude that Martin had her back. Thank you for telling me. Let's see the lounge's corridor footage. Joy, can you get the relevant times queued up? Joy typed a note into her phone. On it. Ebony turned to Martin. If we find Kevin's face on those tapes, I'll press charges. I won't let him slither away this time. Martin gave Ebony's shoulder a reassuring pat. Good. And remember, Ebony, you built this lounge. No matter what these saboteurs do, they can't take away your accomplishments. His words offered Ebony a glimmer of hope. She reminded herself that the lounge was indeed a magnificent achievement, and she wasn't alone. Joy Martin, the staff, even the loyal travelers who believed in the Richards family story together, they formed a sturdy pillar of support. By late afternoon, the lounge's power was restored. Most guests had remained surprisingly patient, helped by Ebony's staff offering complimentary drinks and amuse-bouches. A few high-priority travelers left for their flights, but overall the lounge remained fairly occupied. The media presence didn't dissipate, but Ebony kept her composure, offering standard statements. The tension skyrocketed when Ebony's phone dinged with a text from an unknown number. You think you're so untouchable. This is only the beginning. A nauseating swirl filled Ebony's gut. She marched over to the newly arrived uniformed officer from the Atlanta Police Department, who had come at the request of airport security. Officer, I just received this threatening text. We have reason to believe our lounge was sabotaged. Could you please look into it? He nodded professionally, taking Ebony's statement and copying down the phone number. He promised they'd investigate further, including requesting phone records if necessary. Moments later, Joy approached Ebony, excitement in her eyes. We got him, she whispered. The corridor footage shows a man in a baseball cap messing with the electrical cable. He's wearing a jacket with a patch that looks suspiciously like Kevin Yates's old company logo, Yates Procurement. Ebony's heart hammered. That's enough for the police. Let's show them the footage. They can identify him. Joy started to move, but Ebony grabbed her arm. Wait, Ebony said, voice tightening. Before we involve them, I want to see it with my own eyes. Let's confirm. They hurried to the lounge's security office, a small room lined with monitors and recording equipment. Joy pulled up the relevant footage. Sure enough, a figure in a dark jacket with a distinctive Yates procurement patch crouched in front of the cable. The camera angle wasn't perfect. He was partially obscured by a crate, but Ebony recognized that wiry frame and the way he tilted his head. She'd encountered Kevin Yates enough times to sense it was him. Ebony exhaled slowly. This is enough for me. Let's get the police in here. With the lounge's security footage as evidence, Ebony and Joy provided copies to the airport police and the Atlanta PD officer on site. An official from the TSA also joined them, as tampering with airport facilities raised homeland security concerns. Ebony delivered her statement calmly, detailing her history with Kevin Yates. The officers promised to track Kevin down for questioning. For Ebony, it felt like a step toward justice, but part of her also dreaded the possibility of a drawn-out legal battle. She wanted nothing more than to get back to celebrating the lounge's success. Yet Ebony also felt a thrill of resolve. She pictured Kevin's smug grin, the memory of him once telling her father that small businesses have no place in a global airport. She remembered Parker's humiliating display of racism at the lounge entrance. Enough was enough. Ebony was done tolerating bullies. As the day inched toward evening, Ebony's lounge bustled again. Some travelers stopping in for dinner, others grabbing a few moments of relaxation before late-night flights. Word spread among the guests that the lounge had survived a sabotage attempt. In an odd twist, Ebony's handling of the crisis elevated the lounge's reputation. Travelers praised Ebony's composure, generosity, and willingness to keep them comfortable. Before Ebony could even catch her breath, she received a message that a cluster of journalists had gathered near the lounge entrance demanding a statement. Ebony exchanged a look with Joy. Might as well face them. They made their way to the lounge foyer, where about a half-dozen reporters stood, microphones and cameras at the ready. Ebony stepped up to a small podium set up for earlier media engagements. She smiled politely, bracing for the onslaught of questions. Ebony Richards, is it true? Your lounge was sabotaged by someone you have a personal rivalry with, one reporter asked. Ebony kept her expression poised. We are still investigating the full details. We can confirm that an individual trespassed into a restricted area and tampered with our electrical system. We have turned over evidence to the police. Another reporter shoved forward. Earlier rumors suggest that your lounge discriminated against you, the owner, at your own opening. Could you address that? Ebony felt a pang of frustration. She refused to hide the truth. There was an unfortunate incident involving a now former security guard employed by Atlas Secure who acted unprofessionally. That individual's services have been terminated. I want to assure everyone that the Royal Dawn Lounge stands for inclusivity and exceptional service to all travelers. A third reporter asked, do you suspect the security guard and the saboteur are linked? Ebony paused, choosing her words carefully. I can't speculate on that. The authorities are examining all angles. Right now, our focus is on the safety and comfort of our guests. She spent a few more minutes fielding questions, emphasizing that the lounge remained open and inviting, and that the sabotage had been swiftly resolved. When she stepped away from the podium, Ebony caught Joy's eye. Joy gave her a subtle thumbs up. It seemed Ebony's measured responses had reassured most of the press. Just when Ebony thought the whirlwind of the day was settling, chaos erupted near the lounge entrance. Ebony heard shouting, a male voice raised in anger. She hurried toward the commotion, her heart pounding. There, flanked by uniformed officers, stood Kevin Yates. His face was flushed, red veins popping in his neck. He pointed a finger accusingly at Ebony. You can't prove anything. I never touched any cables. The airport police had evidently found Kevin lurking somewhere in the terminal and confronted him. Kevin's words tumbled out in a frantic attempt at self-defense. I'm an accredited airport contractor. I had every right to be in that corridor. An officer responded coldly. You're not on any approved contractor list for today. And we have footage of a man wearing your jacket, tampering with the lounge's electrical system. Kevin's eyes darted around, latching onto Ebony. You planned this. You framed me. You just want to keep me from expanding my procurement business. Ebony held his gaze, her voice unwavering. Kevin, you've tried to sabotage my family's business for years. This time, you crossed the line and broke the law. I don't need to frame you. Your actions speak for themselves. Kevin lunged forward as though to grab Ebony, but the officers restrained him. He continued to hurl insults. This lounge is a joke. You were never fit to run a place like this. You're just your father's second-rate legacy. His words cut off as the officers hauled him away. Ebony tried to maintain composure, but her chest felt like it was about to burst. The crowd that had gathered observed in stunned silence. Some were filming with their phones. The entire fiasco would likely hit social media within minutes, if not seconds. Show's over, an officer said curtly to the onlookers. Everyone, please disperse. As Kevin was led away, Ebony noticed Parker watching from a distance. His eyes were wide, his posture rigid. Before Ebony could say anything to him, Parker turned on his heel and disappeared into the throng of travelers. With Kevin in custody, Ebony felt a surge of relief. It was as though a dark cloud had lifted. Still, the remainder of the evening felt surreal. Joy assured Ebony that the sabotage had not caused permanent damage, and the lounge could continue operations without further interruptions. The police presence lingered, but mostly as a reassurance. Guests in the lounge seemed oddly exhilarated by the day's events, rallying around Ebony, praising her resilience. Some travelers compared it to being part of a live drama. Ebony offered them grateful smiles, though she longed for a sense of normalcy and peace. Late that evening, after the last wave of guests departed for their flights, and the lounge began to wind down, Ebony found a quiet corner with Joy. They sat in plush armchairs, shoes kicked off, sipping what remained of the day's celebratory champagne. We did it, Joy said softly. Despite everything, the lounge is open and thriving. The sabotage didn't close us down, and the security fiasco is behind us. Ebony nodded, closing her eyes. It was a day of trials, Joy. But we overcame. You think Kevin's going to jail, Joy? Asked, swirling her champagne. Ebony opened her eyes and exhaled. I'm not sure. They might charge him with trespassing vandalism, possibly endangering an airport facility, which is serious. We'll see. Either way, he won't be bothering us anytime soon. Joy reached over and squeezed Ebony's hand. I'm proud of you. Ebony grinned, warmth flooding her. Thanks. I'm proud of us. In the final hours of the lounge's opening day, Ebony wandered through the quiet halls of the Royal Dawn. The day's adrenaline was fading, leaving behind an introspective calm. She paused at a large framed photograph near the lounge's library. It was a picture of her father, Walter Richards, standing in front of his humble coffee kiosk, a proud grin on his face. Underneath a small plaque read, Walter Richards believed in the power of a good cup of coffee, a welcoming smile, and the promise that anyone could reach new heights. Tears blurred Ebony's vision. She remembered her father's words. Never let anyone tell you which flight to catch. She had soared indeed. But Ebony knew she hadn't done it alone. She felt her father's spirit in every corner, in every cup of coffee, served in every traveler who found a moment's comfort in this lounge. As Ebony lightly touched the plaque, she whispered, "I did it, Dad. We did it." A gentle hush enveloped her, and in that moment, Ebony felt certain her father was smiling down on her, proud of what she'd built, despite the day's turbulence. Early the next morning, Ebony arrived at the airport, anticipating a slew of follow-up interviews, and probably a meeting with legal representatives about pressing charges against Kevin. She expected the lounge might be quiet at such an early hour. Instead, she found a surprising number of travelers inside, some who had heard about the Royal Dawn Lounge's eventful opening day and wanted to experience it for themselves. A traveling businessman from Chicago approached her, offering a friendly handshake. "Ms. Richards, I just wanted to say your lounge is top-notch. I caught the fiasco on the news last night, but I had to check out this place for myself. You did good work here." Ebony thanked him, her heart swelling with gratitude. The lounge staff seemed equally buoyant, their sense of camaraderie stronger after weathering the storm of sabotage and bigotry. Joy bustled up with a news article pulled up on her phone. "Check this out," she said, eyes dancing. Headline, "New VIP Lounge Endures Sabotage. Owner emerges triumphant, vowing inclusivity and excellence." It's mostly positive coverage, Ebony. People are applauding how you handled the situation. Ebony scanned the article. Sure enough, the piece highlighted her composure and the lounge's swift action to keep guests safe and happy. Although Ebony never sought drama to promote her brand, the day's events seemed to have inadvertently given the Royal Dawn Lounge a boost in public interest. Later that morning, Ebony met with Mr. Carmichael, the airport director. He congratulated her on the lounge's successful opening. He also expressed regret for the initial security hiccup and promised to work with Ebony to prevent future incidents. "We value businesses that contribute positively to our airport's reputation," Carmichael said. "Your lounge has turned a crisis into an opportunity, and that's admirable." Ebony thanked him, relieved to have the airport's backing. She was also pleased to learn that Parker was indeed officially barred from returning to the airport for any security role. In a twist of events, Ebony left Carmichael's office and was heading back toward the lounge when she spotted Parker on a distant bench in the main terminal. He looked disheveled, rummaging through a folder of papers. Ebony debated whether to confront him. Part of her wanted to scold him for his racist behavior and threats. Another part acknowledged he was no longer her concern. Atlas. Secure had fired him. In a moment of compassion, Ebony approached him calmly. Parker glanced up, startled. He hastily rose to his feet. "What do you want?" Ebony studied him. He seemed smaller than before, the bravado gone. "I just wanted you to know that I'm not out to ruin your life. But your actions, your words, they were unacceptable. This is the consequence." Parker sneered, but the anger in his eyes flickered with something like regret. "I was just following protocol." Ebony shook her head. "No, it was more than that. You assume someone who looks like me can't be in a position of power. That's prejudice, pure and simple. Maybe this is your wake-up call." He said nothing, staring at the floor. Ebony walked away, leaving him to whatever fate lay ahead. If Parker refused to change, the path would only get rockier for him. Ebony believed in second chances. Her father had taught her to believe in people's ability to grow, but she wouldn't let such negativity pollute her dream. In the weeks that followed, Ebony Richards pressed charges against Kevin Yates for vandalism and sabotage. The case quickly gained traction, with abundant evidence stacked against him. Ebony attended a preliminary hearing testifying about her history with Kevin, the sabotage footage, and the threatening text messages. Though the legal process would take time, Ebony felt a sense of closure. Kevin's attempts to tear her down had backfired, shining a light on Ebony's resilience and further endearing the lounge to the traveling public. The Royal Dawn Lounge flourished. Membership inquiries skyrocketed, and Ebony rolled out new programs promoting local artists, celebrating cultural diversity, and even hosting mini-workshops for aspiring entrepreneurs passing through the airport. In the lounge's library corner, Ebony placed a portrait of her father, ensuring every visitor understood the legacy behind this space. Invitations poured in for Ebony to speak at entrepreneurial conferences. Journalists published features on how Ebony navigated a crisis on day one of her lounge's debut and still managed to create a sanctuary for travelers. Even the airport's senior staff began referencing Ebony's resilience in their internal training sessions. One crisp morning, Ebony found herself alone in the lounge before opening hours. She gazed out at the runways through the large glass panels, sipping her father's signature blend of coffee from Walter's Beans and Bites. She marveled at the planes ascending into the dawn sky. The intercom crackled to life, announcing a new wave of flights. Ebony reflected on how an idea, just a seed, could grow into something beautiful if nurtured with passion and hard work. And though storms might come like sabotage racism or betrayal, her lounge stood as a testament to perseverance. As Ebony set her coffee cup down, a bright beam of sunlight broke through the clouds, illuminating the lounge's plush interior. In that radiant moment, Ebony felt an unshakable certainty. The Royal Dawn Lounge was more than just a business. It was a beacon of hope, a reminder that no matter the trials, one could always rise unbroken to greet the new day. As planes continue to land and depart, the Royal Dawn Lounge welcomes travelers from every corner of the globe, a symbol of courage, unity, and the unwavering belief that no dream is out of reach. Ebony's story rings loud and clear, even when bigotry tries to block your path and saboteurs lurk in the shadows. Passion and integrity can overcome any hurdle. Her father's legacy lives on through every smile and every warm cup of coffee served in that lounge. And in the end, those who sought to tear her down faced the consequences of their own deeds. Ebony's lounge stands unshaken, an ever-glowing testament to resilience. Now, if you loved this story and felt the drama, the triumph and the inspiration behind Ebony's journey, don't forget to hit that like button. Share this video to spread the message of perseverance and equality far and wide, and subscribe to our channel for more riveting real-life stories that celebrate the power of determination and hope.